What is up, boys? Ron from Fantasy Flow. Welcome back to the channel. We got late waiver wire stashes in this video. We're going to be covering some dudes that you should be adding to the end of your fantasy football bench. Guys that I think could be really good moving forward. Now, keep in mind, boys, this is a very important week because we do have the trade deadline next week. So this is the last chance, man. This is the last chance to stash dudes who are valuable now and will not cost you a lot now, right? You can pick them up, you can put them at the end of your bench before these trades happen. We want to try to look at rumors, we want to try and see who's going to get sent where. There's already some teams that you can probably guess are probably going to have some action. Teams like the Raiders, like the Cowboys, they should be having new faces, right? So keep that in mind when I'm talking about some of these guys. But before we hop into this video, I just want to say, man, if you like this video or if you get value from it, I'd really appreciate a like. And then while you're down there, if you want to catch more of my future videos, subscribe, man. It's the easiest way to show support, helps me out. And dudes, we're gonna first start with handcuffs, man. It's homework. It's pretty much what we do every week. We start the video by listing off a few dudes that you should be adding because they're the handcuff for a running back ahead of them. If you don't know what handcuff means, it's essentially just like the 1B running back, right? Or the backup running back to these high octane offenses, right? I'm just going to shotgun off the names real quick. It's Braelon Allen, Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Ty Chandler, Emanuel Wilson, Jalen Wright, Audric Estime, Kimani Vidal, and Roschon Johnson. So these are just dudes where the guy ahead of them is performing well. We know that these guys should be the main guy if that dude in front of them were to go down. Very simple, bro. I always list these guys. They're probably already taken on most waiver wires. But this is the time of the season where you do want to pick up your backups or your handcuffs. You don't want to be left, with your dick in your hand when fucking Josh Jacobs gets injured and you don't have Emmanuel Wilson, right? So keep that in mind, dude. Moving forward, like Jalen Wright, he's behind two guys, so maybe not like the priority. I'd say the priority is probably like Braelon Allen, Ray Davis, probably Kimani Vidal because of J.K. Dobbins and that really good offense there. But moving on now, we're going to hop into the first official player. You guys probably already saw it on the screen, but it's Jalen Coker. This one's easy. This dude was on most waiver wire lists, but I think there's some reason to be excited. So he's a big slot corner is essentially what he is. Think of like a Michael Thomas. Think of like a fucking, who's that dude from the Saints? I forgot who gives a shit. He's basically like a Michael Thomas, like a big slot corner. And I meant Devon Vele, by the way, not from the Saints, from the Broncos. So looking at his game logs, we see that he hasn't really played a lot of snaps. So 50% of snaps in week 5, but goes 4 for 68, right? So not too bad. And then he kind of disappears the next couple weeks. Then in week 8, he really pops off. He goes 4 for 78 and a touchdown on 6 targets, 69% of the snaps. Nice. And yeah, man, he kind of showed out. He got a lot of his production on that last drive for the what fucking team is he on? For the Panthers. And yeah, dude, he looked pretty good. He looks like he's separating really well. And I got a couple of stats as to why I think we should be excited about him. A lot of fantasy Twitter is very excited about him this week. And it's a simple thesis, right? Deontay Johnson is gone. Xavier Legette is kind of unpolished, kind of like a rustic type of rustic. What the fuck does that mean? He's kind of like a unpolished wide receiver prospect, right? And we have Adam Thielen still out for week 9 at the minimum. They might hold Adam Thielen out through the bye because they do have a week 10 matchup against the Giants, and then they go into the bye in week 11, so they might just hold Thielen out. But I expect him to be back against the Giants. But in any case, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that Thielen's going to come in and be the wide receiver 1, right? So we actually get Thielen's actually on this list a little later. I'll talk about him a little more, but this is a quote from Dave Canales, the head coach for the Panthers. This is per Coach Speak Index. Jalen Coker's role will be very similar to last week. The plan will be very similar in terms of where he's at and how we'll attack the defense. So if that's the case, if that's what he means, he played 71% of his snaps in the slot last week, so he's going to probably be in the slot again. And the Saints, who's their opponent, they ranked 26 in adjusted fantasy points allowed to slot receivers. So that's like the perfect matrimony, right? A perfect formula for somebody who should pop off. So that's why I think we should be picking him up. Another tweet from Derek Brown. Last week, Carolina first read shares. So this is a little bit concerning if you're a Legette owner, which I am. He had 22% of the first read shares for the team. Xavier Legette was at 18.5. So we like to see that flipped. We like to see Xavier Legette get a little bit more work. He's just the touted, wide receiver prospect, highly drafted. He should be getting more wide receiver 1 work. But in any case, moving on, another tweet from Bruce Matson. All 22 of Jalen Coker's 6 targets against the Denver Broncos. It's just some stats, basically. 17% target share, 80.5% route participation, 80% slot rate. So this dude's rounding up. I already listed some of these. 17.2 average depth of targets, kind of insane for a wide receiver. Like, we like slot receivers who actually run down the field. So that's like a nice little thing, right? 103 air yards. So, like, all signs pointing up for Jalen Coker, especially on a team who I think Bryce Young has a lot to prove. And I think he has to sling it, dude. He has to throw the ball. He has to prove that he can be a capable quarterback while he still has a job. And then I think we do expect Andy Dalton to come back and probably start, unless Bryce Young plays really well, right? So like either way, I think it's going to be good, right? Either Bryce Young continues playing because he played well, and then you're happy with Coker, or Dalton comes back, and then you're happy either way. But next name on the list is going to be Parker Washington. This one's very simple. We don't have to spend a lot of time. This dude's a very dynamic punt returner and like a kickoff returner. So he's really shifty. This dude knows the 5 Ds of dodgeball, bro. Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. You should see some of his punt returns, man. He's shifty, dude. He's breaking tackles. He's peace signing people. Like, Parker Washington has some absolute juice. And it looks like he's going to be like a mainstay wide receiver now for the team. So Kirk going down, he goes three receptions for 46 yards. And then obviously he gets in week 7 the punt return, or I think it was a kickoff return touchdown. Yeah, kickoff return touchdown. So this man's popping up on the motherfucking game logs finally, dude. Like I've kind of been a Parker Washington fan since last season. He kind of came on late last season, and yeah, Kirk is done for the season. Brian Thomas might miss a few weeks. It's also possible Brian Thomas plays, and Gabe Davis is essentially the only other guy left on the team, and he's just a touchdown drop merchant. Like, he will either get you 2 touchdowns or he'll do absolutely nothing. So Parker could slot in and kind of be like a pretty high volume player on this team. So, fucking caveat or side note, dude, if you're an ETN owner, you might, this is probably good news for ETN owners. I feel like they need players. So Parker Washington, throw him at the end of the bench to see what happens in this next week. Next dude is Darius Slayton. This one's also pretty simple. Darius Slayton has always been pretty much productive when he's given the chance. So when he gets propelled into like a starting wide receiver role, he actually does pretty well, right? So in week 5, when Neighbors has a concussion, 8 for 122 and a touchdown, not bad. He gets another start in week 6, or another like alpha start, but unfortunately 11 targets again, but only 6 for 57. And then since then, he's kind of, back to the shadows, back to the shadow realm. In week 7, does jack fuck all, and then in week 8 pops up again. Actually leads the team in receiving yards, gets a couple big plays, mostly because Neighbors get so much attention. So I feel like someone could profit, right? And it was Wandale for a couple weeks, and now it looks like it might be shifting toward Darius Slayton. I think Wandale is he's too short yardage of a guy. So yeah, that's essentially the makeup of this team. You got decent volume with decent air yards, right? He gets a lot of average depth of target, as opposed to Wando, who's kind of the fuck. I was about to use a German word. He's kind of the absolute opposite, right? He gets volume but low A dot. We want the Darius Slayton. Hopefully the dudes who get a lot of volume plus the A dot, kind of like how I mentioned with Jalen Coker. And he's also a trade candidate ahead of the trade deadline, so that's somebody that could be on a different team, helping a team that's wide receiver needy. And unfortunately, there's just not a lot of meat left on the bone after Neighbors in this offense. So we're kind of hoping he does get traded, but he could be serviceable, right? And like in weeks where they're projected to, like, I think against Washington and Carolina these next 2 weeks, I think fucking Slayton could be a sneaky start, man. I need to have a swear jar, by the way. Every time I say fuck or come or piss, I just put $1 in it and then send it to one of you guys, one of my viewers. Next name is Adam Thielen. This man is 163,000 years old, but he's still productive, dude. I don't understand it, man. This is his game logs from this season. So 69% of the snaps in week 1, and then 94% in week 2. Not a lot of production, unfortunately. But then in week 3, when Andy Dalton becomes the starter, instantly there's rapport built between the two of them. 3 for 40 and a touchdown, then tears his hamstring, dude. He basically like fades away into the blue tent, off a touchdown. And he's been out since then. So we thought he might be back in week 9. Looks like he's not going to. Looks like he should be returning against the Giants. But so this is a tough one, right? It's kind of tough to hold a dude through a game where he's not playing. So you might want to keep him on the waiver wire if nobody else. If you're in a league where like people aren't going after dudes like Thielen, you might as well just leave him. But if it's a sharp league, you might want to pick him up this week. So he's, as I mentioned, he's approaching infinity years old. He is infinite, but he's still producing, dude. When he does play. So looking at his game logs from last season, he had this fucking he had this period in last season that was, damn, I said the F word again. He had this period where it was between week 2 and 6 last season, so pretty much from week 2 up until the bye, where he was like a wide receiver one, like a bona fide start him every week wide receiver one. Like he only had one week in those 4 weeks under 15 fantasy points. It was week 4 against Minnesota. Like he just produces, dude. So I think you can take a shot on him, throw him on your team, as I mentioned, at the end of your bench, just to see what happens. Because with Deontay gone, like there is kind of a vacuum, right? And we're expecting Coker and Leggett to fill the vacuum, but it could easily be Thielen when he comes back, just because of the rapport he has with both Dalton and Bryce Young. So moving along now to the next player. This one's kind of disgusting, but we're the disgusting brothers, dude. We're here for it. It's Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Basically, easy thesis here. He scored three weeks in a row. He has a touchdown and ascending snap share. So in week 6, 22% gets a touchdown. Week 7, 47% gets a touchdown. And week 8, 92%, bro. He's on the field 92% of snaps. That's what we want. Only gets 4 targets, 2 for 39, and a touchdown. So he's somebody where I think this team is like starving for some production. It was like Calvin Ridley and then no one else. So this dude can easily slot in, become like the wide receiver 2. And yeah, man, Ridley got really silly volume in week 8. I think it should even out a little bit more. I think they should get these other guys involved. Could be Okonkwo, could be fucking Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. You just don't really know with a team like the Titans, but you can take a shot, dude. Let's see what happens against the Patriots. Throw him at the end of your bench. And if he scores another touchdown, bro, 4 weeks in a row, he might be somebody you might have to start in your flex. Basically, if he gets a touchdown or gets yardage, still plays 90% of the snaps, he's somebody that you have to take a look at. Andre mentioned to Tyler Boyd as well. He also got like 7 targets. Didn't really do much with them, but yeah, man, these are dudes that can produce if called upon. And then the next guy is Adonai Mitchell, also kind of disgusting, but I've been sitting in the shadows, like waiting for Adonai Mitchell to pop off, including him on these dog shit ass videos every week. And the guy just doesn't do anything, man. He's just drops, doesn't run the right routes. He's getting open, like he's open anytime he runs a route, but I don't know what's the problem, bro. I mean, he has Anthony Richardson throwing the ball, so that could be it. But the reason I have him on the list is because Joe Flacco is now going to be the quarterback. And Joe Flacco tends to actually like Adonai Mitchell. I know that in week 8, when Flacco did play, 4 targets, I believe. I'm sorry, I might be fucking that up, but he got 4 targets in the game. I think one of them might have been with Flacco. The rest were with Anthony Richardson. He keeps getting targets. Right? Like they want to make him a thing. They want to make him a thing because he does have burst, dude. He is fast and he can separate. He just has to catch the ball, dude. I don't know what's going on, man. But yeah, he's somebody that I would add to my team just because there's a change in quarterback now. Let's see what happens. Alec Pierce is kind of a jag. He's just a guy, really. So I don't like this chart should help like explain what I mean, bro. So basically, you have here on the y-axis yards per route run. So we want players that get a lot of yards per route run. You see, obviously, these goat-ass players like AJ Brown, Nico Collins, Rashee Rice, Justin Jefferson. And then you have on this side separation score. So ASS, it's the I don't know how they fucking do it. I'm not going to explain it, but basically it's a score on how well they separate when they run a route. And Adonai Mitchell's over here, probably number 1 in the NFL. It looks like in separation. Yeah, he's even above AJ Brown. He's above Ayuk, Dontavian Wicks. But he's low on the yards per route run because the dude just doesn't do anything, as we saw in it from his game logs. It's like he's yet to break 40 yards, right? So obviously his yards per route run are going to be low. But dude, let's see if he can turn that into some production, man. Next name on the list, it's probably the last, I believe. Khalil Herbert. This one's very simple. There's a rumor that came out that he might get traded. Here it is. It's just a rumor, but Bears have granted Herbert permission to seek a trade. So it's kind of fucked up, right? Like they're basically like, yo, you want to get traded? You got to do it yourself. Like my man has to go door to door. He has to go door to door selling chocolate, dude. That's kind of fucked up. Like you'd think the team would try to shop him, right? But yeah, they're making this man sell his own fucking candy. Fuck, man. You hate to see it, dude. Poor Khalil Herbert. He's been kind of a stud, dude. I don't want to use like strong language, but he was kind of like one of the better running backs as like a pure rusher in the NFL since he's been relevant for the Bears. Like on by PFF grades, he's always scored in like the top 10 from all running backs in the entire NFL. It's just they've never trusted him with the lead job where he can get enough work and really cement himself. Last season was looking real good. Gets a high ankle sprain, dude. But this season he's just buried on the depth chart. Roschon Johnson, who's literally the most mid running back I've ever seen play football, is playing ahead of him. And yeah, it's just brutal. So it looks like he might get traded. Hopefully he doesn't get traded to our sweet, sweet Cowboys and ruins our Rico Dowdle shares, but it looks like that might be the case. And if he does go to the Cowboys, I think he becomes the starter, but he could be locked in a two-man committee with Rico. So kind of sucks for both players, but at least he might be serviceable right at that point. They might even just make him the starter. Next player on the list is Taysom Hill. This guy's the last one. So this is also very simple. Taysom Hill, anytime he's healthy, the man scores fantasy points. Like he's somebody that if you can start, if you're in a tight end premium and you need a tight end and you're starting, dog water players like Hunter Henry or like for example, don't take this as advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I will probably be starting this man, Taysom Hill, over Tucker Kraft this week. Tucker Kraft plays against the Lions. Taysom Hill plays against the Panthers. And there's going to be no Kendre Miller and no Jamal Williams. Take from that what you will. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Do not put all your money on Cumrocket or SafeMoon or Dogecoin. Just don't do it. But put your money on Taysom Hill. But I'm not a financial advisor. Don't fine print. Yeah, dude. There's nothing much more to say. Stash him just to see because I think he's been, really dealing with injuries the past couple weeks. And if he hadn't been dealing with injuries, he's somebody that they really could have used. I mean, essentially the first 2 weeks that he was healthy, they won. They went 2-0. And then since then, they've been like bottom of the barrel, worst team in the NFL since then. And I'm not saying Taysom Hill is the missing ingredient. That's the last thing I'll say. But I think you can do a lot worse. I think the Panthers defense represents some opportunity for this Saints offense to get right. They got Derek Carr coming back this week. So Taysom Hill's somebody that I really like as a stash as well as potentially a start this week. Hopefully my league mates don't see this and then try to pick him up, those sons of bitches. But that's the motherfucking video, dude. Hope you guys liked it. The swear jar is filled with about like $23. I'm going to add them after this video, I promise. But yeah, I hope you guys liked the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I would appreciate a like. It'd be the nicest thing you can do. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you disagree or agree with any of these players. And subscribe if you want to catch some of my future content, man, if you're new here. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.